Greetings, theists and non-theists. I am the Atheist Paladin. I'm going to be responding to a 2-year-old video by Philos71 and to 5 questions every intelligent atheist must answer. But I'm going to be responding only to one particular point. In question 4, he asks how morality evolves, but he brings up a problem in order to couch this sort of challenge to atheists. So let's listen.
There are 2 cavemen in neighboring villages. One kills the other in cold blood. We're being asked to believe that he feels guilt because he realizes such an act ultimately undermines his own survival status. How? In the rest of the animal kingdom, killing the opposition seems to secure just the opposite. It just makes no sense whatsoever.
Okay, you have a situation where it's advantageous to basically take advantage of others. So how in the world does morality evolve in a system like that? Well, let's see. Well, let's take murder and just include every immoral behavior that's possibly advantageous. And we'll turn this into a sort of payout scheme. We have a situation where 2 cooperate. Both of them get points, more when they get a decent amount of points. And then you'll have those that will defect, and one would be the sucker for each one, right? So in scenario, you have a scenario where person A takes advantage of person B, and also where person B also takes advantage of person A. In that situation, the one taking advantage gets a very high reward, the highest reward in that situation, out of all situations, right? While the other one gets nothing. And then we have a situation where both of them try to gain on each other. They both defect, right? They both gain something out of the counter, but not as much as if the other one was a sucker, and especially not as much as if they actually just cooperated. Now, this is what it would look like. Does anybody recognize that? That's the prisoner's dilemma. So how does morality evolve in a sort of prisoner's dilemma situation? Maybe they can, saying, well, they realize this is, it's better, they can see, if they can understand this as, well, it's better to cooperate. But the problem is, if they know how long they can cooperate for, then there's an issue. Let's say this sort of happens in a sequential game. It happens one after another. So it happens in rounds, right? So, and they say they play 100 rounds. So they cooperate, they agree to cooperate for 100 rounds. But person A realizes something. Well, after the 100th round, nothing's going to happen. So why should I cooperate? I should defect and I'll get more points. I'll be better off. But then you realize, the person B also knows this. And so, the 100th round isn't really the final round, it's the 99th round. So you're okay, I'll defect in the 99th. But they can also realize this too, so the 98th round is actually the last round. And so this continues until it completely unzips the cooperation all the way back down to the first round. It's no longer there, it's gone. That's quite a dilemma. So how does it work? It seems to fail. Well, there is a problem when someone has a pure cooperation strategy and someone has a pure defect strategy. The defects tend to win. So a pure strategy isn't going to win. You have to do something that is responsive. As we saw with the problem, another thing that it has to solve this problem is that the number of rounds has to be not known, which is kind of like life. We may never know when we may die. We may never know when we may encounter someone again. So the number of rounds could be nearly infinite or determined by chance or something. And so this changes the strategy. So this is a lot like life. Now it's getting a lot like life, right? But what is the most dominant strategy in this? Well, I can go through thousands, but I'll cut to the chase. What wins in the prisoner's dilemma? It's a strategy called tick for tack. Now, what tick for tack does, it will cooperate. It will always cooperate so long as you do. So it will never break. It will never be the first one to defect. And so when you defect, it will also defect the next round. And then it will go back to cooperating, which is quite interesting. It forgives and re-enters into a cooperative relationship. And there's been a whole bunch of models and strategies that have been put forth, and tick for tat never seems to beat them. It always seems to tie them. No matter what model you put it up against, it only seems to tie. So why does it win? It's because the other models can't always beat each other. And so overall, tit for tat still ends up getting a higher score. Even though it will tie every game, if you sum up all the games that it had, it will still have a higher score. And that's the key. Having an unknown time, unknown number of rounds, and taking the strategy of tit for tat, which is awfully like morality and some of the qualities that we value in people today. Think about it. Tit for tat is nice. It's nice because it never breaks the relationship. Right? Tit for tat is provocable. It's not weak. It takes justice or revenge against the actions. It reciprocates. But then it turns around. It doesn't shut you out like a Grim Trigger strategy would. A Grim Trigger strategy, if you just defect just once against it, that's it. It will no longer cooperate with you. But with tit for tat, it forgives and it re-enters into relationships. And as a result, this strategy is straightforward. It is straightforward and honest. These are all things that we value in society today. These are all things that we consider great today in a person. So that's how morality can evolve in a prisoner's dilemma. It seems impossible, but that's the solution. In our lives, we don't know. We don't know if we'll be reciprocated towards our good moral actions at all. We don't know. And yet, reality provides the testing grounds that demonstrates that tit for tat works in the long haul. Tit for tat will always work in the long haul in a system to which we don't know. And this is precisely like life. And what do we know? Everything that we value in a person that is being straightforward, nice, and forgiving, and yet provocable. These are all things that we also value in society and value in traits and persons. So it's, as you can see, Philos, it's not really a problem for atheism. And you can find all that information in The Selfish Gene. Dawkins talks about that in The Selfish Gene. He also it's in game theory, it's in human behavior, it can be tested in so many ways. You can run simulations. This is why we know tit for tat works. There have been simulations after simulations, and tit for tat always tends to come to the top. It's quite interesting. So I hope that was educational for everybody. So remember, folks, rationality is the path to righteousness.